Welcome to the Spearo Hangout, where we talk all things spearfishing, freediving and foraging. We're three guys from Devon in the UK who are excited to share some of the learnings from our spearfishing journey with you over the coming episodes. We bring in some special guests along the way to help spread some in-depth Spearo knowledge from some of the most experienced people in the scene. Happy birthday, Anthony.
Thank you very much.
Happy birthday, buddy.
22. It's not bad.
I can't believe you're younger than me.
I know, I look old for my age, but I'll blame it on the 5 kids and...
That'll do it, mate.
Yeah, everything else. How are we all doing?
Yeah, we're good. Yeah, looking forward to getting Laurence in today.
Yeah, it's going to be weird interviewing someone that we really know.
Yeah.
So, Laurence, what do you do? But no, it'll be really good. He's a phenomenal diver. Considering,
yeah, right.
I don't actually know how long he's been doing it, but the guy's a fucking fish, and swims just as fast as bloody bluefin tuna.
Yeah, so, he does swim bloody fast. He does laps around me. I know that much.
Some of the times I've been out with him, you go out and you're like, oh, so long, looking at the bottom. You look up, and Laurence is fucking gone. It's like, oh,
so
cool.
True.
We're getting to the spot quickly, then, are we? And then and then by the time I get to the spot, he's turned around and he's got a load of fucking crabs, fish, and everything. He's like, yeah, I'm getting out now. I'm like,
don't forget the flatfish.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Flatfish extraordinaire, old Laurence.
Very cool. So, what's been happening this week? You been up to much apart from crashing vans?
Yeah, well, I wasn't driving, mate. I was just passenger, but yeah, not much, man. Just that.
What happened?
Just slippery road and just landed up in the verge. So yeah, not much else.
I take it everyone else. Yeah, everyone's all right. Is the van vehicle okay?
Yeah. Well, it's not too bad considering, to be fair. So, but I don't really give a shit about things like that. More, everyone's safe, and that's it. Yeah.
Nice. How about you, Ben?
Yeah, not a lot going on really. We obviously went out for a dive, didn't we, on Friday?
We did.
On the boat. Yeah, out in I can't say where, but we've got a few scallops. Hey,
well, it's in the sea.
In the sea. Yeah, and our friend Laurence came along as well, along with Davo.
Yep.
Did you guys get anything else or just scallops?
Well, I tell you what, I had a huge oyster, and it was, I don't think I got tiny hands, but it was bigger than my hands. It was pretty decent size.
Nice.
Anyway, I opened it up. I was expecting something really big inside. It was tiny, like it was almost smaller than a scallop meat. I was really surprised. It was quite tasty. Probably wouldn't bother again. I mean, it must have weighed about a kilo. This thing. It was but it was like all shell. But it was nice to try something different. But yeah, other than that, I think David had a dogfish, and was that it? I think.
Yeah. I was just about to say about what you were saying about that oyster. It's kind of your explanation of it is the explanation that most women give of me. He's huge, and then I unpacked him, and it was tiny. Dear. Never mind. What else? So what we got on? We got Laurence, and then
this is episode 19, isn't it? So we got episode 20 next week.
Wow,
yeah, it's gone fast there. Yeah, so we got episode 20 next week. So next week we got a real special guest on, but we'll talk about that at the end, shall we?
Sounds good.
Cool.
Well,
I don't even know if at the end we're allowed to say the name.
Yeah, if they hang around till the end, we'll give them a little spoiler.
That's it. Cool. Well, let's poke Laurence, get him into the chat, and I'll speak to you in a minute.
Hey, Laurence, how you doing?
Hey, good, thanks.
Hey, Laurence.
Yo, what's good?
I feel a bit embarrassed. I'm not up to the usual caliber of your guests, but I'll do my best.
Whatever. Wait till we get started. We've got so many things to talk about today. I spent a car journey with you on the way up to Skye, and I was writing notes at the time. And they're going to be surfaced tonight, that's for sure. But yeah, thanks for joining us. And we've got lots of cool stuff to talk about. Sorry, Anthony, go on.
I was looking at the show notes earlier on. I was like, fuck, This is going to be a 2-hour episode.
Yeah, I bought my drink just in case.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely. How are you anyway, Laurence? How are you keeping? How's the week?
Yeah, good. So I've been frustrated by the weather forecast as normal, but
Yeah, right.
yeah, mushroom season is still just about there. So there's another option for foraging, but I'd rather be in the water, to be honest.
Mm.
Yeah, definitely. So, Laurence, just purely because I said in our intro earlier on that I think you're a really, really good Spiro, and you hide the fact that you're a really good Spiro really well. But how long have you actually been spearfishing?
Yeah, so I had to think about this, and it was 2012. So that's quite a lot of years.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. No wonder
Nor
you're
did
so
I.
good. I thought you only
Yeah,
just started.
well, yeah, but I would say it's only really since lockdown that I've actually really improved
Right.
significantly, and there's quite a few reasons for that, but I'd say the main one was YouTube.
Mm.
We were all stuck at home, bored out of our heads, and in the past I'd looked for videos and found, an unedited 30-minute video of nothingness, and then suddenly you've got people like Daniel Mann putting amazing videos up of, quality better than what you see on TV, most
Yeah.
things, and not only that, he's doing it in the UK, and it just inspired me to get out there to a local spot, and it certainly helped that the weather during lockdown was perfect. So by the time we were allowed out, the water was just crystal clear, and within a very short time, I floated over my first big local place, which was a huge surprise to me and my wife, who was on the beach, because she always jokes about how she's got sausages at home in case I haven't caught anything. It suddenly just changed to being a productive hobby, which was fantastic, because normally it's I'll get out the water and say, oh yeah, it was really nice to see everything. I just like being in the water, but really you're just dying because you wanted to catch something to eat.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
and I did a bit in Australia, and I was very much at a beginner level, but I don't think you can really underestimate how much you can learn from other people with this sport in particular.
So true.
But yeah, no, it all started back in Australia on the East Coast in 2012.
And you moved there, right? You were there for a little while, weren't you?
Yeah, so we had an opportunity to live out there for a year, and on the flight out there, we joked, "Oh, we could catch our own fish and cook it on the barbecue." I didn't know one end of a fishing rod from the other, and we gave it a go out there. And one of the first fish we caught was a fish called a tailor, which is really good fun fish for spinning off rocks. And then we were getting into bonito, and we were hooked. But then a dentist friend called Andres, who used to do a bit of spearfishing, said, "Oh, do you want to try this?" So my first experience with a spear was with one of those pole spears with the 3 barbed prongs on the end.
Yeah.
So obviously didn't catch anything with that. But snorkeling, and then I quickly went out and bought my first gun, which weighed a ton. It was clunky, it was underpowered, the shaft on it was about 3 inches thick. It was hopeless. But yeah, I started getting more and more into it, but technique wise, awful. Like absolutely awful. But yeah, it completely different to what I do now, but it's still brilliant fun.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you why you got started into it, but yeah. So when you came back to the UK, then did you just think, yeah, I'll give it a go over there, so I'm gonna try it over here, or did you know there was a thing over here?
Yeah, so my wife's cousin, he had been doing it for a few years in Cornwall. We always go down there for our summer holiday, and yeah, so I gave it a go back home. I had my Australian gun, which was enormous and completely overkill for the things I was looking for. But really, it was only when I was in Cornwall that it would occur to me to actually give it a go. I just thought, Devon, where I'm from, it wouldn't hold fish, or it wouldn't be good enough visibility. I don't know. I didn't think about it a lot, but it put a lot of pressure on my holidays because I'd be looking at the forecast weeks ahead. And if it was bad viz, then that's you got 1 or 2 chances a year then. And if it was washed out, it was washed out. So yeah, 10 years, I've probably done more spearfishing in the last 2 years than the previous 8 by a long way.
Yeah, definitely.
Amazing.
You always go camping, don't you? You literally like camp more than anyone I know. So when you were over in Australia, were you camping over there, and what was it like? Was it quite extreme camping, or were you just camping in the middle of nowhere? What was going on?
No, the beauty of Australia is it's pretty easy to camp in lots of places. They're set up for it. They've got these amazing designated campsites in the middle of nowhere where they have an area where you can make your fire and cook your food.
Nice.
But we did do 1 or 2 wild camping experiences, but they didn't always go quite to plan.
I remember you telling me about this in the car journey on the way up. You're somebody who quite likes extreme camping as well. Was it last year that you were camping out around somewhere in Torbay, just in a sleeping bag in the middle of winter, in what was basically a pretty extreme storm, from what I remember it. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, it was 40-mile-an-hour winds.
Well, that's a storm as far as I'm concerned for camping.
Yeah, and it was February. We took bivvies. There were 3 of us. So I quite enjoy twisting people's arm to go camping. So I'm sure you'll be next.
Oh, you're not getting bed out there, mate. That's for sure.
I know.
Hey, yeah, I did it with you. I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah, I've noticed Ben likes to dodge the camping situations. But no, I mean, you can camp all year round. It's more to do with your kit. I mean, we took bivvy bags, but I'll admit I did end up in a tent because it started lashing it down at about 2 a.m. But yeah, we went out. We went diving in the evening with the torches, and it was just a memorable event.
That's cool.
And I find any sort of mini adventure, especially in the winter, is it gives you something to look forward to, something to plan for. Even if it's horrendous, you can then laugh about it afterwards.
Yeah, so true. Yeah. And that, going back to that incident in Australia, so just tell us about that one.
Oh yeah. It wasn't a pleasant experience. Well, the moral of the story is basically don't decide to go camping on a cliff edge after a few drinks. It was Melbourne Cup Day, so it was the day off work, and work took us out, and a few beers down the races, and we were just about to leave Australia, and we'd been eyeing up this cliff edge that was on a headland, completely remote. No one could see it. It was about 5 meters above the waterline and completely flat.
Who says that? I was eyeing up this cliff edge 5 meters away from the water in the middle of nowhere. People say that kind of thing?
Yeah.
The same people that then end up 2 hours later getting rescued by Coast Guard.
Yeah, well, that's if the Coast Guard would have known we were there. Anyway, we got there just as the sun was going down and had some food, and just going to sleep on this ledge, and I could hear the waves pounding against the cliff edge, and I thought, we're a long way up, it's not going to reach us. And this humongous set must have come in, because the first wave was a big boom, second wave bigger, third you're starting to see spray going above the level we are, and I thought, it's all right, it's a vertical cliff, it can't come over. Well, it did.
The wind caught it.
Well, I don't know what happened, but a lot of water. I just remember opening my eyes and seeing the water like going like way above my head and then coming down onto the platform.
Oh god.
And we were on an inflated lilo, and this water just crashed down, and the force of it was enough it carried off our bag, it washed around us, but it was looking back, not very sensible.
Hairy.
So we couldn't, the problem was then we couldn't get off this sledge because the way to get onto it was just too extreme, and it was too dark, and we'd lost a bit of kit by then. So we had to climb up this little bit of cliff, and then a very scratchy walk through the through the brush. But we made it, and we lived to tell the tale. But it was a really stupid decision. But so now that's why part of any adventure is planning, and I don't take that lightly anymore.
Yeah, it's
Very
crazy,
true.
man.
So then you obviously moved back to the UK after that, did an occasional bit of spearfishing. Do you think the spearfishing is very different to Australia? Like I guess you get more bigger fish in Australia, like different fish. What's the main difference?
Yeah, I mean, you'd assume that, but when I say spearfishing in Australia, it wasn't anything like what you see on the videos. It wasn't,
Right.
Dolphin fish and
Yep.
Spanish mackerel. It was bream. It was a really easy fish to shoot called a ludbrick, which is still tasty. But it was fairly shallow. And where I was, it was a place called Foster Tuncurry, and it had this huge lake system that was tidal. And it was super fishy because it had all these oyster leases in there. So you had options of going in the ocean or in this huge lake system. The visibility was often, crystal clear, which had its own problems because, of course, the fish that don't want to be shot keep their distance.
Yeah.
But I still managed to catch a few things, but it certainly wasn't like what you see in some of those videos. My friend Andres did actually get a enormous kingfish. It's huge.
Nice.
I wasn't there when he got it, but yeah, that was his profile picture for a few years.
Does that
nice.
kind of like with the diving out there? Is it deeper, sort of similar to America, or is it? Were you still sort of shore diving?
Yeah, so I never went out on a boat. It was very much shore diving, very much trying to forget about the fact that there's sharks around.
Yeah.
I mean, diving in the UK just felt so much more relaxing. And it's not only sharks, but you know what Australia is like. Everything's out there to get you. And you'd see something different every time.
In the UK, though, our sharks are the commercial fishermen. But we'll get into that story later on from our Friday dive. But
I don't think I've heard this one yet. So
no. We to be honest, I wanted to forget about it. Otherwise, it was just straight. Well, we'll talk about it now. So on Friday we went out and we went locally on my boat, and the viz was horrendous everywhere we were looking. It was me, Ben, Laurence, and Davo. Or Laurence, David, Ben, and me. And we went out. The weather was actually really nice. It was flat calm, wasn't it? It was
lovely.
Really good diving. Yeah. And anyway, we'd been out probably 2 hours-ish, something like that. Just scallop diving, no guns. We didn't bother because the viz was shit and we weren't in a place that we thought there was fish, and there wasn't. And anyway, at the end, we were just all getting on the boat. We'd got our, quota. And out of nowhere, this commercial, what looked like a commercial potting boat with just one older bloke on it, sort of came really close to where Davo was still in the water. We'd all got back in the boat. And so we were like, it's odd. All right, well, there's a couple of boys over there. Maybe he's going to pull his pots. And anyway, he turned around and came sort of straight back at us once Dave had got back on the boat. We put the scallops in the boat and sort of sat there. And anyways, then got within, 20 meters of us, Ben?
Oh, probably even less than that. He was like heading straight forwards. It was kind of like an aggressive move, but, going so slow that It wasn't really going to cause us any
It
harm.
was
You know,
like that Austin
four
Powers
grown
bit
blokes. Yeah, well,
where there's
yeah.
the steamroller for like 10 minutes. But anyway, when he got then close enough, he's pointing his camera phone at us through his window. And we're like, the fuck? Like, what's this guy's problem? And anyway, then he goes to his back door as he goes past us. He goes, "Where's your fucking licenses?" And we're all licensed, and so he's obviously had issues with people, scalloping or doing whatever, diving without licenses. But just really weird.
I
really
think I know
aggressive.
the old boy you're talking about, and I think I know the spot you went, obviously. So that spot is notorious for an old boy that obviously does potting out there, and he's called the R&R Lion a couple of divers before that were spearfishing there.
Really?
He doesn't like anyone diving near his pots. Yeah.
Well, I don't like his boat doesn't hold water. Like, I'm going to put some holes in it at some point. It's just like, the thing is, if he'd have come over and sort of said, "Have you guys got licenses?" like a normal human being, then we'd have all turned around and said, yeah, nice to meet you. Yeah, we're locals and we're all licensed. But this is not a regular spot, but this is one of the spots that we know of. And yeah, we'll send you our licenses as soon as we get back if you want. But it was just the way he went about it. It was just
It's bizarre, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So probably no, I'm not even going to go in there. Yeah. Nope. Gonna get fucking
That's the thing.
more
I
comments.
think all fishermen are territorial, but when it's a business as well, and I don't know what their rules are, whether they steer clear of each other's spots or whatever. But
yeah, it's even
who
worse as
knows?
a commercial fisherman, especially for pots as well. You hear all sorts of
Yeah.
stories. I've heard of fishermen putting razor blades around the
Oh.
pots to stop people pulling them up. Yeah, I don't know.
Wow.
I did wonder why I got cut that time. So sorry, we digress. So with the fact that you were shore diving, is your technique had to change much from Oz? Obviously, taking into account the fact that you're no longer looking for sharks, but has the
Yeah.
technique changed? Is it
Well, I would
opposite?
say I didn't really have any technique. It was I honestly the kit I had, it was up until even when I went up to Scotland a couple of years ago, I still had a snorkeling mask, and I didn't even know how to equalize properly. So every time I went for a dive, it would be a couple of days of ear pain. But basically what I was doing was swimming down frantically, heading towards where I thought there might be a fish, and somehow I occasionally was lucky, and I'd sneak up on something. But the oyster leases were quite fun. They're quite easy because you can hide in them and just wait to see
The what?
washes
Sorry,
past.
the oyster lease.
Oyster leases, yeah. So a bit like the mussel farms. It's like
Right.
rows of these like wooden frames that the oysters grow on. But obviously that brings in a lot of other fish.
Yeah, nice.
But yeah, no. Then back in the UK, I mean, the hours I spent looking for bass, and I'd always get out and think, oh, there's no bass in the sea anymore. It's overfished. But I go there now, exactly the same spot, just with a proper technique, and I'm just like, I'm bored of seeing bass. Where's something else?
What do you think you changed then, Laurence? Is there like some one key tip that you could give our listeners?
Oh, I don't know about one, but just slow down, I think.
Yeah.
And you all say that I zoom around everywhere. I still do. I can't help it. But what I tend to do now, if I do a dive in a spot and I would say dive a spot that you're confident you're going to see something, because when you dive down and in the back of your mind you're thinking, this is a waste of time, inevitably you won't give it long enough and you'll come back up.
Mm-hmm.
So what I do, I convince myself there's something that's going to come in down there. I'll drop down, and now I just chill out for 20 seconds. That's 20 seconds on the bottom. I'll hardly look up at all, because I'm convinced that if you start frantically staring at everything that's coming towards you,
mm-hmm.
it's not going to help things. So I'll use my watch for that. I'll wait for 20 seconds, and then I'll start gently just scanning. And, more times than not, something's turned up that's coming to check you out.
And you hiding like in the kelp? Are you making sure that your head is below the kelp line?
It depends what is around, and getting your buoyancy right is something I'm still working on because yeah, I've been overweighted, I've been underweighted, and that makes a difference. But generally, I try not to, because it's so easy to have your fins flapping around behind you, and you'll think you're being really still, but you're not. So yeah, keep a low profile, but yeah, enough to spark some interest for something to come up as well.
Going back to that Friday boat dive, I think you saw one of my buoyancy aid techniques when we were scalloping. So when we went with my bag.
Yeah. I don't know how you're doing that.
Well, by the last dive, nor did I. It was actually really dangerous. So when I go scalloping with Davo, he's obviously very, very experienced. He knows what he's doing. He knows his limits, and he's done it a million times. But one of the first times I went with him, he was like, "Well, why are you going to and from the boat? Just take a catch bag with you." But what he didn't say was attach it to your float. So I've got in, the float's trailing behind me, and I'm carrying my catch bag with 20-ish scallops in it, weighing the best part, probably 13, 14 kilos. Yeah. And the last dive on the way back up, I'm going, I'm going to have to drop this bag. Shit. It's like, oh dear. But yeah, we should have just attached. Quicker. Yeah, that's the thing. You do your little duck dive and you smash into the bottom and create a dust cloud from the bag of scallops.
Yeah. But another tip that I picked up, because that it was on Max's course. I did that last year with a friend. On the dive watch, it's got a little arrow, and it's normally like a 0.9 or a 1.2.
Yeah,
that shows you how
per meter.
Yeah, descent and ascent. I didn't know that, but it gives you a good idea of if you're going too fast or slow.
What is too fast and too slow? Do we want it to be like about 1?
Yeah, so yeah, you want it to be about 1. So if you're diving down to 10 meters, it should take about 10 seconds then. So it's going to take roughly 10 to get back up, and then it helps you kind of figure out where you're going to be comfortable with your breath hold.
Yeah, that makes sense. Presumably checking on the surface, right? You're not checking it as you're going down, like, oh, I need to fin a little bit faster now, or are you?
No. Everything's as tucked in as possible on the way down. But yeah, afterwards you'll do a little review and calibration. Gives you something to look at when you're breathing up for the next one.
Yeah. Sorry,
but Anthony. That's. Oh yeah, go on, Anthony.
No. I was just going to say on the edit course we learned that with that descent speed, it's meant to be roughly, if you're weighted right, it's meant to be 1 kick per meter. And so if you're going down to 6 meters, you should, in theory, only need 6 kicks. And once you've done your 6 kicks, you should be within a meter of the bottom. And the rest of it, obviously, is if you're weighted right, you just let yourself glide down and be comfy. So yeah, maybe count your kicks next time you're going down to a depth.
Good
and
tip.
see how many kicks it is, because that means then, and I learned it from a chap that I was on the 81 course with, Scott, an American, and he was saying, and it was weird because I buddied with him going up and down the line on our freediving course, and the entire time he had his eyes shut until he got to the bottom. He got down to wherever it was, 50 meters, 20 meters, 25 meters. And then he opened his eyes, looked around, and then immediately closed his eyes again and came to the surface. And what he was saying is that once you close your eyes, it shuts down that part of the brain, stops the use of oxygen for your eyesight. So you can relax a lot more and concentrate on, you go into the surface, you go into the bottom or whatever. But he was saying all he does is he does his duck dive, counts his kicks, opens his eyes, and he's on the bottom. And I mean, for spearfishing, slightly different, but that's where I learned it from.
Very interesting. That doesn't sound relaxing to me, like closing your eyes and finning until.
I like seeing what's around.
Yeah, right.
See, I've done it online, and I did it when I went to Vobster for the first time only that few months ago. And actually, it is so relaxing when you're on a line. For spearfishing, I don't think it would work pretty much at all.
What if you kick a bit too hard though, and then you land in a plane on Vobster or something like?
Well, with the free divers, most of the time you sort of, I think with what Scott's saying is, if you're diving on a line, he'll close his eyes the entire time because you've got your hand around the line, or you've got your tassel or whatever it's called, your tether, and that attached to the line, so you can't really kick too hard or go too far. But with what he was saying with diving wrecks or subjects, you would he just closes his eyes when he's doing his breathe up, does his duck dive, and opens his eyes about halfway or half the amount of kicks that he's done, so that then he isn't wasting that oxygen. But it's really zen. I don't think it would work really for spearfishing, other than maybe just close your eyes while you're doing your duck dive and open them. But it does give you a bit of a, I don't know, it's like a spatial sickness. Because then you open your eyes and you've got to like look around and figure out where you are again. Weird. So for spearfishing, it might not work. But when I tried it at lobster, it was really, really cool.
Cool. Have you done a course, Laurence? So I think all of our technique has improved over the year. I think probably I was the worst of all of us at the start of the year. Probably still the worst of all of us, but I feel like I've made some decent progress. I've watched all of your techniques, but Laurence, you are particularly smooth in the water when you're doing your duck dive. It's almost like proper textbook. Let's take a video of this and stick it on YouTube. This is exactly how you should do it. Where have you learned that from? Have you done a course or something like that?
Oh, well, thanks. I would say though that you guys have been doing it for 5 minutes, and you guys have, like, the stuff you've achieved this year is amazing. So yeah, well done. But yeah,
thanks.
no, I did. I learned a hell of a lot from going up to Scotland, and this is literally only 20. Well, no, it's about 40-minute dive with Arian.
Yeah.
I got in touch with him, said I'm going up. It was very early in the season. We didn't see many fish, but he was probably like, "Oh, who's this guy? He looks like he hasn't got a clue." When I got there. But just, I took on board a lot of what he said. And again, you go back, you watch videos. Yeah, so it's a bit like skiing or any sport where you can pick up, just concentrate on one tip at a time and then get that right, move on to the next thing. But videos are such a resource, and it's given us such an advantage. Another really good channel that not many people have heard of is it's called Aquatic Rehab. Have you heard of it?
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, it's fantastic. And the guys just put on a load of information videos. It's him talking to the camera, but you can pick up some good tips from him because his ability in the water is unbelievable. He's in New Zealand doing snapper and kingfish and all that crazy stuff, often with 15 bronze whalers on his tail. But, so it's not quite what we do, but still you can learn from anyone. But yeah, no, I did a
you saying my boat's not enough? Have I got to get a Boston whaler?
That's a shark, mate.
Yeah, well, maybe I need to watch his videos and figure out what the fuck I'm talking about.
Bronze
sorry.
Yeah, that's a big shark. But no, I did a course with Max that was excellent. I was a bit unlucky with the weather. I suffered terribly from seasickness. Even if it's slightly choppy, I've convinced myself that I don't need a seasickness tablet, and invariably I end up regretting it. So yeah, it was a bit choppy. I was on the edge of seasickness all day, but again, you do it to get the information, and it definitely made me concentrate more on what I'm doing, basically. But yeah, I'd recommend it. Anyone that can go out, and it doesn't have to be a course, you just go out with more experienced people. Like, we're going out with Davo, and we're so lucky that he's willing to share his knowledge with us, and he's just full of information, isn't he?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Gotcha.
And it's not I was
Sorry, go
gonna
on.
say it's not always the current up to date advice. He'll say to you, look, I've been doing this for 50 years, and he's got a point.
Yeah. 3 million years ago, there was bass here. And so, how's your equipment changed versus Oz? Like, do you use anything different? Obviously, wetsuit, I would have said, is one of the things, but
Yeah, a decent mask helps. Yeah, I've made my own guns now, but I think the gun, as long as it's reliable, it doesn't have to be anything fancy at all.
I was going to say, he definitely loves his massive, big, heavy guns. Eh?
I know. I think that's more my love of woodwork that's come out with that.
So,
But
why do you
people-
make your own guns?
yeah, so I've made a couple of wooden guns. I made a double-banded. Everyone, well, I think Richard calls it the elephant gun or the tuna gun. It's huge, but the beauty of wood is it's weightless in the water. If you get it balanced right,
Yeah.
It's fun making your own thing to shoot stuff with.
When I go out spearfishing with Laurence and Taj, it feels a little bit like I'd imagine what Anthony feels like going into a changing room for the men. I feel very underpowered.
Oh.
do you-
Ow. Fuck you.
The funny,
Oh,
the
sorry,
funny
mate, I
thing
love
is,
you,
though,
really.
the funny thing is, though, I did there was an evening where Max, the Frenchman, he did a course or an evening course on how to rig your gun right, and I turned up with my elephant gun, and I could see he was sort of like, oh, that's pretty nice bit of woodwork there, but useless in the water. But I'd rigged it up all wrong. The tensions were wrong, the bands were way too long, and I was basically using it really underpowered for what it should be. Adjusted it, and then I was shooting high on everything, but I've readjusted my aim, and now it's all good again. But the roller gun's fun.
What size is it?
Yeah, see, it's massive, but it's actually only, I think it's about 75.
Really?
Yeah, because I didn't know that, when people say the size of the gun, like 80, 100, it's the distance from the bit that
The trigger mech.
it's the bit under tension, isn't it? It's not even the trigger mech, it's where you hook it onto.
Oh, what, on the spear?
Yeah, so it's basically, I might be talking out my arse here, it's the bit that's under tension. Am I right, Ben? Did I remember that right?
Sounds right to me, but I've never made my own gun, so if anybody knows, it's you, mate.
But I mean, it's not even if you buy a gun, you can't always rely on it being rigged up right. So I'd say check it.
Yeah, definitely. That's pretty good. Bit of advice there, to be honest, because a lot of guns I've bought fully rigged, I've had to re-rig them because they're just utterly useless.
Yeah, it makes such a big difference. Huge difference.
Yeah, definitely. And what's the sort of process like? Is it quite complex to make your own gun? Like, what we have asked Arian when he was on the podcast before, but like for you, did you need a lot of tools? Was it mostly hand tools, power tools? What were we looking at?
I did it with hand tools mainly. I routed the line. That's probably a sensible thing to do.
What were the spear stitch you mean?
With the router, yeah, the bit the shaft sits in.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're not that complicated. It's a straight bit of wood with a trigger mechanism and something to stick bands through and handle.
I think we spoke a while ago about like the price of them, though, because you were saying that although the wood itself, I mean, the wood's kind of expensive in itself, but then you were saying how like just the trigger guard, because it's custom, it's like £75 million. That's like fucking horrendous.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of didn't add it up as I went along because it would ruin the fun.
And also ruin your financial life.
Yeah. Arian's just made another couple of guns and they're beautiful. And he used all the best parts he could get. And I think he said he spent nearly 400 quid on just bits for the gun.
Oh,
so you think making a wooden gun, you're like, the wood might be quite a key component, but that's the bit I get for free. The
Mm.
rest is, I mean, I'm looking at mine now, and the reel 50 quid at least, trigger guard probably 15 quid, trigger 50 quid, the roller muzzle thing was about 100 quid, spear 50 quid.
Wow.
It's horrendous.
And then, so how many hours do you think it took you roughly from getting a naked piece of wood to firing it?
Yeah, quite a few hours, but that's me. I like tinkering over things. You can do it with power tools, and it will save you a lot of time. But it depends what you're doing it for.
Roughly 40 hours?
No, probably about 6.
Oh, okay.
No, maybe a few more, because the bit that I don't enjoy is getting the balance right, because you've got to cut the wood out and then pour in lead. So you mount up the lead, you pour it in, and then you've got to test it. And the first gun I made, I got it perfect in the paddling pool, and then you take it out into salt water, and obviously salt water is a different
Floats.
density. So yeah, you got a gun that floats. And then you've got to keep cutting it, and you've got to re-epoxy it every time. It quickly becomes a pain in the ass, but that's the one bit of the process that is a fact.
So were you doing some kind of Stranger Things with your paddling pool where you're just emptying bags of salt into it to try and get it like salt water?
I should have. That's a good idea. Next time.
Not lie in it and trying to go into the upside down, but
yeah.
No, why do you prefer using your own ones over to like just what you can buy in the shop?
I've been let down a few times by guns. The first really big bass I saw, and this was splashing around in Cornwall in the shallows, and just by chance it was almost like I was inside a bait ball on the surface, and you had the garfish splitting it. I love that. It's
amazing.
It's such good fun. But anyway, I was looking around, and suddenly I just saw these 2 shadows, big shadows, and 2 really, really nice sized bass were just sitting off the edge of it, well within range. And I still have my Australian gun, so when you're just keep calm. I think I was even on the surface. I had no reason to be in a rush, but yeah, went to fire it and the trigger wasn't working, probably because I hadn't shot the gun. Probably because it had seized up because I hadn't actually fired it so long. And it eventually went off, but by that point I was sort of looking at the gun wondering why it wasn't working, and I felt like that was my one opportunity to get a big bass had gone. And then I upgraded it, but the cheapy sort of Cressy ones that have those horrible metal and plastic notches, I've taken the skin off my hand a few times with that, where it sort of slips, and you look down and you're like, oh, half my thumb is now sort of floating.
It was a bait ball.
Yeah. But it's like those injuries never hurt at the time, but you just think, oh, this is gonna hurt for weeks now.
It was just gonna throb.
Yeah. But no, I love my wooden guns, and yeah, it's good fun. I said how expensive it was, but that was for a roller gun, but that's got very fancy parts to it, and it's something I want to last forever, so I got the best non-corrosive stuff. But if you want to make a simple band gun, that can be cheap. It can be really cheap and fun.
Nice.
And there's loads of videos on it.
Awesome. And just going a bit into about you before we go into a few other subjects, tell us a bit about who you are, sort of outside of spearfishing. What do you do? What's your career and family, kids?
Yeah, so I'm a dentist. I've got 2 kids. So I very much, with all my hobbies, try and incorporate it into family life. That's the lie I tell myself. But, the pandemic happened and I went down to 3 days because obviously it changed the way we worked. And And then since then, I went up to 4 days, and I've stopped at 4 days, which is actually really nice. So now Friday is my spearfishing day. And it means that, the weekends are still free. But I can't quite believe how lucky we are to live where we do, where in the summer we get really long evenings, in terms of light. So in Australia, even in the summer, it's dark by 7 o'clock normally. So you don't have the opportunity to go out once the kids are in bed. And even in the winter, we'll still be going out. We'll still be after, bits and bobs. But spearfishing is something I think about a lot and try and do as much as I can. But I do a bit of shooting in the winter. I'm into mushroom hunting now. And yeah, we keep pigs and bees and chickens, things like that.
It's pretty cool. I had some of your honey tonight, actually. It is the best honey I've ever tasted. It's still going, having a little bit every time I do some food, and yeah,
it was
I love it.
It was a good year. We got so much this year. I was speaking to someone who said they'd been doing it for 50 years, and it was probably one of the best years for it because it was such a dry, hot summer. So the bees were out foraging.
And so you've got what, hives on at home, or?
Yeah, in the corner of the garden we've got a couple of hives on the go. And yeah, they, you got to look at them a few times a year. We're not massively hands-on with it because every time we try and manipulate the hive to prevent a swarm, it doesn't seem to work. So we find that if we leave them to it, they tend to get on with it. But you do have to check them for disease, and you keep a general eye on things, give them space where they need it. But yeah, no, it's a fun hobby.
It's quite easy to do, is it then?
I wouldn't say particularly easy, because you do have to I'd say you need a bit of experience before you go out and buy all the kit yourself.
Yeah.
But there's always people that are willing to give their advice. It's a very friendly community of the beekeepers. They like a cup of tea and cake, and so you'll always find some
my kind of people.
Generally retired people that enjoy the social side as much as beekeeping.
That's really nice.
We got the kit from Sarah's dad. He did it for about 8 years, and he passed it over to us, and we've been doing it for about 6 years now. And we're quite proud of ourselves, because I think the average time for the average beekeeper of doing it is about 5 years, and then people are like,
they get bored. Okay.
Yeah.
Good stuff. And you keep pigs as well, right?
Excuse me. Yes. Yeah. We've been doing that for a few years. Pigs are great animals to keep if you got the space for them. They're very easy and delicious.
Have you still got any in your freezer? Because I didn't get any.
Yeah. Our freezer is now full of the last two, who were Pepper and Susie.
Were they the two that I met?
Yeah.
Oh no, I didn't get to say goodbye. Oh. I'll have to say goodbye as I'm munching on them.
They had a nice life. We try and give them as nice a life as possible.
Yeah.
But you can't overwinter a pig outdoors. It's it just turns into a boggy mush, and you can sort of see they get a bit low when the weather's bad. So,
but that's an amazing thing to teach the kids, though, is the way that you're sort of doing it. And I sort of idolize how you've done it with the kids and showing them the entire process. From getting to know the animals and feeding them and stuff. But how do they find it?
They're amazing, actually, because the other day we were with friends, and our friends hadn't realized we'd slaughtered them, and they said, "Oh, how's Pepper and Susie?" And,
oh no! Well, they're on your plate.
So we were thinking, uh-oh, what's she gonna say? But completely straight face. You just said delicious.
Amazing.
So, you know, they see what it is. They love a roast dinner. So there's no fear that they're going to suddenly rebel or get stress about it.
That's great. I love it.
They see me come home with all sorts, you know, pheasant, duck, and fish and crabs and all sorts. So
And mushrooms as well.
yeah,
Recently. This is
my
a fairly new hobby, is it?
Yeah, I was so lucky, and it was actually through someone who bought some of the pork off us a couple of years ago. Or was it last year? I think it was only last year. Yeah, he was a French guy, and he was talking about mushrooms and said, "Oh, you know, I'll take you out when it's autumn." So got back in touch last year, and his knowledge is just encyclopedic on mushrooms. Even though he hasn't, I think he's only recently bought a book on them. He was shown by his grandfather and his father back in France. And he's been basically roaming Devon for the last 15 years, finding these amazing spots for mushrooms. Yeah, he was moving back to France. He's in Brittany now. So I'm looking forward to going and visiting him, because I think the spearfishing there could be good. But yeah, he gave me so much information and all these spots that, you know, you'd walk past the spot and you wouldn't see it, but when you tune into it, the mushrooms are just everywhere at this time of year.
It's amazing. I saw a picture. I can't remember whether it was our group or the Exeter group, but basically your whole table was full of these mushrooms. What kind of mushrooms are they?
Yeah, so we only picked the ones that are easy to ID. So there was probably a big cauliflower mushroom. There's hedgehog, penny buns, or set. Winter chanterelle. It's been an amazing year for winter chanterelle.
Mm-hmm.
And a few other bits and bobs, purple deceivers maybe.
So for someone like me, that I would love to be able to take the kids out, and we got to Mammahead and what's that other forest called? Holden, and we go up there for walks during the winter quite often, and during the summer, but mainly during the winter. And I see mushrooms, but they scare the living shit out of me. In that I always think, if I'm going to eat that, I'm either going to die or I'm going to have shits for 3 weeks, like one of the two. But I love mushrooms. Or well, yeah. Where do I find them? Like as a beginner, for somebody, because we're all spearos, we love taking things from nature and sort of foraging and hunting ourselves. Where would you go for the information and the knowledge to figure out, you know, this is edible? Is it just a case of Googling, or?
Oh no, I wouldn't recommend that. The best thing you can do is go out with someone who knows their stuff. And you know, I've started taking a few people out, but I'm thinking I've only done one season of this. I don't want to be responsible, so I'm always heavy on the disclaimers.
All the forms.
Yeah, it's funny that, you know, you go out and with your bag and you take a few mushrooms, but anyone you bump into either thinks you're doing it to get high or because you've got a death wish. But I don't know at what point in the UK we lost the handed down knowledge of what is a safe mushroom to pick. Because the French, anywhere on the continent, they're crazy for it. You know, they go out with torches trying to get to their secret spots. And there's a lot of crossover. You know, any sort of foraging will appeal to your average spearo. So I would say, get out there with someone that knows what they're talking about. I did see advertised some courses for mushroom picking, but it was silly money. You know, it took me, I was going out several times a week with Kilda, the French friend, and you need to keep doing it. You need to sort of buddy up with someone basically, and someone that's sensible. They say you get, what is it, old mushroom hunters and bold mushroom hunters, but not that there's no crossover.
Is it similar to what you were saying earlier on with the videos on YouTube of the likes of Dan Man, where YouTube has got a lot of information? Did you do much YouTubing
Yeah, I do now because when Kilda doesn't reply in time, I'm on the internet.
Impatient.
Yeah, exactly. And there is obviously some excellent advice out there. One channel, a guy called Miles or Milo. Yeah, I think it's Milo on Wild Food UK. That's definitely one to trust. But it's not very often that I'd reach for a book to ID a mushroom, because I will go for the ones that I know. There's one called a trooping funnel, which is quite prolific at this time of year. I've seen lots this year. But even though I'm very confident that it is that mushroom, you're relying on the smell of it and the size of it. So you can be so confident, but then you read can also be confused with the deadly blah blah blah, and you're like, that's just going to ruin my meal if I do it. So,
not quite the same as spearfishing. That bass definitely cannot be confused with a white tooth shark.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you might get a slightly dodgy tasting fish, but it ain't gonna kill you, right? It's not gonna leave you on dialysis or for the rest of your life. They can be really quite dangerous mushrooms. So I guess that's why people are so scared of them, as delicious as they can be.
For good reason, but I mean, I looked at the other day, and I think the average number of deaths per decade from a death cap, which is a very common mushroom, you see them everywhere if you look, is 1 per decade in the UK.
Wow.
Oh wow,
Christ!
So it's not a lot, but
is that just because the fact that we don't forage anywhere? I mean, I would have said that wild mushroom foraging is probably a smaller sport than spearfishing.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's quite niche, isn't it? I
don't know if it's a sport.
In fact, no.
Sorry, if it includes walking around, it's a fucking sport. If I can't get in my car and just drive to a drive-through, then I am competing in a sport. Thank you very much.
Oh, mate, how quick you can eat a Macca's is definitely a sport.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's in fact the only people I ever see mushroom hunting are normally no Eastern Europeans. Anyone that lives from the continent French or wherever, they're just naturally going to think of it at this time of year.
Yeah.
And
so this time of year, do you do a lot of foraging on the coastline, like just for clams and razor clams and stuff like that?
No, should do. I'd like to. Yeah, prawning is something that's always appealed.
Ben, you've done quite a bit of that, haven't you?
Yeah, I love it. It's something that we've kind of done, since before I can remember. Since we were little kids, we'd always go down to the rock pools and pull out a few prawns and take them home and make a sandwich. We used to go to France quite a bit as kids, and every year, we go to the French supermarkets, and I think it's bigger over there, seafood, isn't it? I don't know why that is, but
yeah.
Like you go and you see all the fresh fish and the live crabs and live lobsters and stuff like that. And they'd always have somewhere you can buy prawning nets or shrimping nets. And those are two different things. So the shrimping nets are basically where you'd skim a net across the sand, and you have like a little wedge at the front, like a wooden wedge, and you'd scoop up the shrimps into there, the sand shrimps. And there's the prawning nets, which are more circular, which have just a traditional net, I guess. And then you put those underneath the rocks and pick up some prawns. And we've been doing it every year since, well before I can remember. And I love it. Yeah, it's just like prawns are so delicious.
Is there a season to it?
Well, a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't realise that in the UK we actually get quite a lot of prawns. And then that's one thing a lot of people don't realise. When I've been squid fishing off pier before and just chucked in a pot, like one of those ones for the prawns, a small one, and had quite a few prawns in there. And I tell you what, they were bloody delicious, man. They were like unreal.
Yeah, it's not like the ones you get from the supermarket either. A lot of them are freshwater prawns anyway from the supermarket, right?
Yeah,
they're not massive in the UK. They're fairly small, so they take a bit of effort to peel down, whatever. But I tell you what, they're better than any lobster or crab or fish that you'll find. They're just gorgeous.
Is there a season for them? Are they seasonal? Are they
Yeah,
better
I mean,
in winter or something?
normally I'd ask my dad that kind of question, but to be honest,
Wants
but
to
yeah,
be a
I reckon.
millionaire,
Yeah,
call
so
a friend.
basically, it's from the end of the summer, or towards the back end of the summer onwards through to. I mean, I guess about now when it gets a bit colder, they tend to go away, and in the spring, I guess there's not as many around because it's cold. I guess they migrate a little bit like fish, I suppose. But you'll see them all year round. Like I've been prawning in March and April, and there's been plenty of prawns there. I guess perhaps it's just that I don't want to get in there at that time of year, with my little boardies on and my flip flops.
One of the things I see whenever I go sort of specifically lobster hunting with spearfishing over the last year was any of the lobster holes that I try to get in, I'm having to push prawns out of the way.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I know it's never really clicked to go, just go spearfishing with a net. Like, just go and get a load of prawns.
I've thought about it a lot, and I saw someone did it. They made like a little prawn shooter. It was like a tiny little spear gun almost.
Spearfin.
The spearfin. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought about doing that. I think it'd be possible to have some kind of a net down there, but you've got the hassle of taking it down and bringing it back up again. Although, Anthony, you can do it with 20 scallops. You'll probably be able to do it with a few prawns, to be fair.
Yeah, you're gonna find out I'm dead from prawning soon. Stuck on the bottom somewhere.
But I think it's quite cool if we give it a go, just like foraging on the coast when we have, especially weather like this.
Yeah.
Go get razor clams and stuff like that. I mean, razor clams are delicious.
And what I would say as well is all of these things are very like location specific. So there are places that you will just not find prawns. And actually, I went down with you, Anthony, didn't I? What did I think? Did I have my ears or I'd hurt something and I couldn't actually go spearfishing. So I took a net down thinking, I'll just see if there's any prawns there. And there was nothing, like literally nothing. And it's just the different types of ground in the same way that different fish like different types of ground. So does everything else. I mean, I guess that's obvious, right? But, it's only obvious when you think about it. I caught 0 prawns that day. In fact, I caught 0 anything that day.
No, neither did I, apart from the tail of a seal.
Oh, I thought you caught a little pollock as well, didn't you? We're going to have a bit of a cook-up, but we decided it was totally pointless and went to McDonald's instead.
We're talking about foraging, sort of like sea-based foraging. The one, it's again, I think it's like knowing the spots, because watching the fish locker and John, that guy. Like I know it's YouTube, but any time that I watch any of his foraging YouTubes, I'm like, how the fuck do you find everything all the time? And he's always in a really good spot. So I think I don't know whether
it's together and every time, doesn't he?
Yeah, and
like, throws half of it back. You're like, oh
yeah. And I go down there with the missus and the kids, going, right, that's it. We're going to eat well today, and we get like a cockle.
There's a good patch east Falmouth way. You've got Carrick Roads, and there's amazing potential in that area.
Yeah, definitely.
We need to organise a trip, I think, at some point over winter, and take all the families down there and go down there for a day on a weekend. That'd be nice.
Yeah, really nice. Razor clams, you're saying, Richard, are pretty good. And I think just talking back to a few episodes ago, quite a lot of episodes ago, actually, you are allowed to eat them over the winter, right? It's the
so
anything R.
Yeah, that's right. Anything that's bivalve, basically, that filters water, you should eat in the winter. So this right now it's a great time to eat oyster like you did the other day, and razor clams. I know one spot that's quite close to us. I'll shoot you boys a message after. It's full of clams, surf clams.
Oh, cool.
And,
nice.
And then you, so you just filter them out. So you bring a bit of water back with you and you just leave them in there to purge. Sorry, not filter, purge. And they get rid of all the sand. And then you can make some really nice pastas with that.
They're the small, colourful ones?
No, the little white ones. So they're not very big. They're only about 2.5 centimeters across, something like that. Like up, maybe get a bit bigger than that, but not very much. And they're so prolific because no one picks them, so they're just everywhere. But yeah, they make amazing pasta, like really good pasta.
I've got a spot as well locally that for cockles, well, I'd go down there probably once a year with the boys, my kids, and we'll go down there for sort of 3 or 4 hours and fill a massive yellow, those plastic buckets, And we'll film one of those, and all you need to take down is that bucket and a rake, and they're amazing. You just got to watch the tide, but yeah, and then stick them in vinegar, and they're so much bigger than any of the store bought stuff. Again, the same with fish, but yeah, really, really good day out.
That's awesome. Well, speaking of foraging, we went up to Skye and caught some massive scallops. Right, they were
We did.
huge. They were.
Oh,
How big was your biggest one, Anthony?
175 mil. So yeah, massive. it's to give you an idea, the normal catch for sort of Devon and Cornwall is anywhere from 110 to 135-ish mil.
Yeah.
And I think to grow from 135 to 175 is something like 6 years. It's huge difference. But yeah, no, they were massive up there. And Laurence, on one of the first spots that we went to for the foraging on the boat from scallops, there was a few seals in the water with you, I think.
don't remember that.
Do you not?
I remember.
When so after we'd just had lunch, and then Tom had done a poo in the sea, and then we went round the corner, and that was the first scallop spot that you got in. And just before you got in, there was like 6 huge seals, and they were watching you. They were within 5-10 meters of you.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that.
You blanked it out.
I
Traumatized,
dunno.
obviously.
You just get focused, don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, I've had a few seal experiences, and Arian was doing his best to wind us up before we got up there.
Yeah, that was
He was
funny.
saying that we'd have to defend each other. One down, one defending. I mean,
I thought it was serious at first as well.
it was quite funny. But I guess I'm lucky. I haven't had a bad experience with a seal, but they do unnerve you a bit. They are big animals, aren't they?
Yeah.
I find them scarier on land though.
Right.
There's been a few occasions, one in New Zealand, where I didn't realise it was a seal covered beach, and I'd just gone in. I was diving for abalone. Do you know what they are?
Yeah.
They're quite delicious if you cook them right. But yeah, I can't remember if I was going in or out, but suddenly I looked around and I was like, oh, these rocks are moving. And it's like they all turned round, and you suddenly realise that you've got to run a gauntlet. And because they're obviously much more defensive when they're on land, because they're just big blobs, aren't they? Oh yeah, they're quite scary, quite aggressive, but in the water they're just playful, aren't they? I don't know.
Well, I don't know about that.
stories.
I pulled up on a boat off a pinnacle once, and there was 2 big seals. And the bull, he came right next to the boat as I was putting my fins on, and he's popped up with his head, and he just started growling, full on growling at me. And I hadn't even got in the water at this stage, and my brother just looked at me. He was like, "Go on, then, get in your pussy." I was like, "Yeah, that's not happening. I'm not getting in there, not even if you paid me. So let's go somewhere else."
How was the so going back to the scallops, how did you find the scallop dive in the Skye, Laurence?
Yeah, it was fantastic. I mean, Arian did put us on a few spots where we were coming up with nothing, and he was like, "Come on, where are they?" Like, but he said the commercial divers can just go through an area and then it's literally hoovered up. But when you're on the spot, it's fantastic because you don't necessarily find a lot per dive, but when you do, they're like dinner plates, aren't they? They're huge compared to what we see.
Yeah,
But versus
you have
what you were saying with the size and the sort of the scarcity. I mean, Scotland's got the 6 daily catch limit on scallops, and we've got 25, and you've got to be licensed down here. But versus Skye, how do you find the diving of scallops down here?
Yeah, I mean, I was on the hunt for scallops for years, and I eventually found some in Cornwall, and then Arian came down a couple of years ago, and I took him to a spot, not expecting to find any, but we happened upon a patch, so I was absolutely made up. But then, since then I've been finding them all over the place, quite unexpected places. But the density you get here is insane in some areas. But I don't know, part of me wonders why it's 6 a day up there and you can take 25 a day down here.
No limit in
I don't
Cornwall
know.
either. Like in Cornwall, you can come back with bags full if you want to.
Is there a
Yeah,
limit
there's
in
no
Cornwall?
no limit at
No
all.
limit.
It's weird, isn't it?
Really?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
they've got the. I think they've still got the same size limit as us.
Yeah.
Of the 100 mil, but no, there's no bag limit.
I don't know. I think the trouble with scallops is they're once you know a patch, it's quite easy to, they must be quite vulnerable to being hoovered up. But
yeah, they move around though.
know.
Bear in mind, like they can swim, and
Yeah.
and they're actually quite fast growing. Really, the ones that we pick up, around here are like 2 or 3 years old at the most.
And it's nice to see how many smaller ones there are, because that's obviously the future stock. But no, I think we're blessed down here. We've got so much opportunity to take a variety pack home, and
diversity. Yeah,
it's amazing.
So back in Skye, it wasn't just about scallops, it was also about pollocks, and you caught some pretty big ones.
Yeah, I did. I was amazed because I think I was thinking a bit like you guys. You get there and you're like, are there actually many fish here? Are we going to see anything bigger than we'd see back home? And that I think the first proper day diving, each fish I shot was bigger than the last, which it was lucky really, but it was even after the first 3 dives, I was pretty pleased that, if I'd stopped there, I would have been happy. But it worked all the way up to that last dive where that's definitely the biggest fish I've shot. It was a lovely, pollock just came cruising in at about 12 meters. And I was absolutely exhausted. I don't know about you guys, but we were getting beasted by Ari, and he wasn't.
It was right at the end of the day as well, wasn't it? And
he was like,
we all wanted to go home.
Yeah, we were begging to go home. He was like, you're not going to catch fish in the boat. And I've never had it before where you're at the bottom and you're coming back up and you can just feel that tiredness in your legs. I don't think I've ever had to push so hard, but it was worth it.
So you shot the biggest one, didn't you?
Yeah, I think it did. Yeah, it was.
You think you did? It was by some way. Let's be honest.
not that we're competitive, but
Was it?
Give
We
the
reckon it was
listeners an idea.
9-10 pounds. Was what we worked out to be?
It was. I don't know. It was. I think it was under 8 gutted. So
yeah. So it must have been 9.5 or something, mustn't it? It was a real big fish. Did you measure it at all?
Someone did. I can't remember.
How big was it?
I can't remember. No.
Yeah. So you always think of these things after the event.
I mean, to give the listeners an idea, some of the pollock that I caught, one of which you decided would be really funny, thank you very much, to put in the mouth of the one that you caught. It was that big.
You were a bit insulted by that, weren't you?
I was a little.
I saw a little tear kind of.
Yeah, that was like my PB pollock's 5.5 pounds, and that was bloody close. Yet yours would just swallow it in one gulp. I was like, fuck's sake.
I think that's my biggest regret of that trip, not taking a photo of that.
I was just going to say, I wish you lads took a picture of his face when you did that.
You won't. I was hiding an Eeyore in.
Yeah. Although I was thinking the other day, I think it might be Arian that's got the thing with donkeys. Did you notice every big fish? It's not just big pollock; it's a donkey of a pollock.
Yeah, and hasn't he got 2 donkeys on site? So, I don't know. Yeah. Maybe he just loves the donkeys too much.
I think next time he comes down, we'll take him to the donkey sanctuary.
Maybe that's why he called you Eeyore. He just an affectionate term.
Yeah, it's an affectionate thing.
I think it was.
Aww, I love you, Arian. Oh, now we know.
Laurence, what was your favorite part of the trip? Was it nailing that fish, or what was the best part of the trip for you?
It's hard to say. I mean,
Hmm.
there's always so much risk involved with these trips, and my ears were playing up a bit before, and well, you know about that, Rich, because
Yeah,
yours were right in the end, but it was too late. But you know, you're looking at the weather, it's the costs start adding up, and you think this is a long way to go.
yeah.
So we were so lucky with the weather, but just being with a group of guys that all get on really well, and you help each other out. We all cooked, and well, I say we all cooked. Ben cooked.
And Anthony, yeah.
Yeah, and oh yeah, crispy skin. That was a new one for me. That was good.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, just
Yeah, nice.
being out with people that you know share the same excitement for the strange things that we do. And
Yeah, definitely.
I'd say that's the same with spearfishing in general. If you find people that you enjoy going out with, it makes a hell of a difference.
Yeah.
A solo dives, I do enjoy going out my own, but when you can share an experience, it can definitely help.
I was just going to
isn't
say
it?
that.
But
Yeah,
it's like
even-
you go by yourself and it's all like it's relaxing and it's chill and de-stressing. But that's only one kind of part of spearfishing, isn't it? It's also the
Yeah.
escapism
Yeah.
from the
I mean,
everything else.
that are the recent experience where I think I shared my biggest high and my biggest low was with Ben and Rich recently. That was that was
Are we going there? Are we?
Well, I don't know about it, so yeah, fuck yeah, we are. What's this highest high and lowest low? Come on, tell me.
Yeah.
well, I found a fish that I'd never found before, and I'll be honest, I couldn't even ID it to start with. But I was floating around and looked down and saw something that looked to me like a top knot, but I knew it was bigger, and it wasn't near any rocks. So I went down and had a look, and it turned out to be a brill.
Nice.
Yeah,
Very
so
good size, bro. Too.
It was beautiful.
I was
How did
very
it
very
taste?
excited. So
Yeah.
we'll get to that.
Oh, we were both really excited for you as well, weren't we? We were high fiving, like, this is amazing. This is so cool.
I shot it. I swam over to Ben and Rich. I was like, guess what's on my float? And I was like, I don't know if it's a turbot or a brill, but either way is fine. And Ben looks at my float and he's like, oh mate, that's a place. I was like, no, underneath the place. Because I was basically having the best dive I've ever done. And yeah, sure enough, it was a brill. And I was, then I got a Dover sole, and I was feeling a bit guilty at telling what the others I got. It gets to a point where you're like, they're just going to be hating me now. But I was checking my float all the time, got back in to the shore, was cleaning the fish, and I didn't take them off the stringer because I didn't want to risk anything, going missing. And washed the fish, got back to the car. It's like, right, time to take a picture. It's like, shit, where's the brill gone? It wasn't on the stringer, and I realized it must have dropped off. So I sprinted back down, hoping to find it on the way. Didn't find it. Rich came back. We got in. We were looking and looking and looking. But I realized now what had happened is I'd held the stringer from the wrong end, and because the brill was the first thing on it, the only thing holding it on was the clip. So the weight of the other fish had pushed it off. So I still don't know what brill tastes like.
Oh, so what? It'd fallen off on the way back to the car, or while you were going back to shore?
It'd fallen off when I just dipped them in the surf to wash it off, wash the stones.
Oh, for God's sake!
I know, I was beyond gutted, but I would say Rich and Ben were just as gutted for me, which helped.
Yeah, we were. Yeah.
I was
Only
trying
because
not.
Rich would turn around and say, "Oh, I put him on that spot."
I was, well, I won't say I didn't, but
yeah, I fucking knew it. I knew it.
but what I was going to say is I was trying not to make too many jokes too soon.
Yeah, I mean,
I could
Oh,
see,
shame.
I could see by the look in your face that it was going to be a bit of a sad car trip back here.
oh, but yeah, but do you guys find it though? It stays in your head for quite a long time.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I hate wounding a fish, let alone one that not many people talk about catching them. I don't know if I'm going to see one again in the next 10 years.
Mm.
Um,
I had one really similar with a lobster at a local haunt, and swimming along, see this just huge lobster just walking like by himself in the middle of a load of sand patch, in between a patch of rocks, good 30 meters between the rocks. So he was obviously on his way moving house. And so I was like, shit, okay, right. I'm in 4 meters of water, 4 meter viz, so I can see this thing walking along. But thinking how big it is, I'm going to dive down and grab it so that it can't swim off, and grab it hard, just so that I've got a proper grip on it. And I dive down, go to grab it. As I grab it, grab straight through it. It was completely soft. And literally this thing just disintegrated. And I'm like, I nearly cried in the car on the way back. So I was like, yeah, I was going to take it home and eat it. But it's like I just killed an animal for no reason. It was like
it's
it
a
was
very,
like,
very different feeling, isn't it?
yeah, and it
It's
was just like,
hard.
oh, for fuck's sake.
My wife laughs at me. She's like, just get a grip, you know. And the
You're
other
a
thing-
murderer. Stop being
Yeah.
sentimental.
Exactly. It's like you do got to kill these things. But it is different, and it's probably a good thing that we care that much. But I don't know. I there's so many highs and lows with spearfishing. I've had lots of lows where you're being sick in the water because you're seasick and you're cold and you're thinking, "What am I doing?"
Yeah, man.
And yeah, but it's worth it for the highs.
Yeah,
Right.
like just going back to everyone has a story, but when I was being sick at the Dorset Open, I was being sick as a shooting fish, and at the time you're like, why am I even bothering? Let's just get back on the boat and go back in, eh? And it's just as you say, it's those highs after that. You just look at it, you're like, yeah, that's awesome.
That's
Yeah.
the thing. I still look back on like the Scotland trip, and I was just fucking shattered the entire trip. But I'd say probably the highlight of the trip for me was actually just sitting on the bench with you guys and just sort of like talking, and it was just bliss. The weather, like you say, Laurence, was we were so blessed with the weather.
You lads all right there. This has been the best season so far, and that's purely because like we've all been
I'm in
diving
it.
together and stuff, and it's been epic, man. Like diving you boys has been pretty good, to be fair. So yeah, it's been cool.
Yeah,
Oh, there's
there's
the little
plenty
violin
more
playing.
adventures. We're
Yeah.
we're all go camping then in February. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gay, man.
Well,
I've
just had some messages with a person I will not say. But yeah, at some point next summer, I think we need to at least arrange a proper a family foraging thing, maybe this winter, but next summer, definitely do a joint couples. Doesn't even have to be a camping trip, but it'd probably be better if it was a camping trip, but a couples sort of like night and day away. So, you know, the ladies can all get drunk or get in the sea, and we'll go spearing and then have a proper cook-up. I think that'll be a really good plan.
Sounds
Yeah.
epic.
That's
We
cool.
talk about the amount of times we talk about a cook up, but I don't know why. Logistically, it never happens, does it?
We've done
No.
one on that fairly close beach with some scallops. That was nice. That was
Oh
one-
yeah,
That was one of my
that was
favourite
good.
days this summer. Obviously didn't register in your brain, Laurence.
Oh,
Yeah.
Ben.
Mate, that was a special
no.
day.
Now I've got a tear in my eye.
So have you got any plans to go back to Arian? Sorry.
No, his turn to come this way, I think. Next year I'm
Definitely.
going to Ireland.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is that for a
Apparently-
spearfishing trip?
Yeah, well, officially no, but yeah. So same kind of setup. When we went to Scotland, we took rented a camper van. So we're going to rent a camper van, and the kids absolutely love it. Plenty of space for spearfishing gear, and
nice.
my mushroom friend Kilda, he lived out there for a few years, and he's been telling me stories of the scallops and fish and all sorts that are plentiful out there. And the
Nice.
beaches look quite similar to the Outer Hebrides, in that you've got that crystal clear water and lots of quite sheltered areas that will hold stuff. So yeah,
Lovely.
I'm looking forward to that.
Nice.
Nice.
Awesome.
Well, on to the quickfire questions.
Yeah,
Ben.
I'll kick us off, shall I? As I keep forgetting them. So, what's the one piece of spearfishing equipment you can't live without?
Definitely Stoogeron.
Huh?
Yeah, so you don't suffer. Like
Stoogeron?
have you not heard of it?
What?
Is that like
Have you
congestion?
congestion?
Is that what you were talking to me about in Scotland?
Yeah,
Go on, tell
Uh,
us then.
it's the anti-seasickness pill or motion
Ah.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm sure there's other brands, but
Yeah.
honestly, without it, I'm a mess.
So what's it called?
Stoogeron. I might be
Stoogeron.
saying it wrong. Yeah, but yeah, I've been caught out several times. I've even been quite ill with it.
Really?
That's how pathetic I am.
Do you find that like over time you're needing them less? Like, are you getting used to it? Or-
Yeah, I mean, you would have thought so, but no.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
It's-
dedication to the sport, though.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, yeah,
it is. Yeah.
I'm allergic to the sea and the seasickness, but I'm still fucking getting it.
I'm sure you've seen me in a bit of a mess.
I've seen you on the beach, pretty close to spewing your guts up. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been sick a few times this year, so I will learn. And yeah, Stoogeron is something that I'm very grateful for.
So the next one: if money was no object, what would you like to buy for spearfishing?
Probably just build a marina at my local beach, just for my boat. Because I bought a Sib, which is a small inflatable boat. It's basically a tender, isn't it, with a big engine that has a V hull, so it can go fast.
Mhm.
And
I love your Sid, man.
Yeah, it's good
it's
fun.
really good fun. I love
Yeah.
it. But you still gotta either inflate it or take it on.
I
and off
didn't
the
love dragging it up a steep shingle beach.
I'm not
But-
I'm not even gonna fucking interject, but did he make you drag it up as well? Because I had to drag it up fucking Exmouth Beach at low tide. Laurence was like, "Yeah, it's all right. I'll take the gear," and I'm like, "Oh, all right, I'll take the boat."
Well, I mean, the engine weighs the same amount as the boat. It's, but yeah, no, the convenience of being able to just walk onto a boat would be
Yeah.
priceless, but
Mm.
Well,
unrealistic.
I thought the stipulation for all of our other ones was we couldn't say anything to do with boats. So
Yeah, The personal marina is a little different there.
yeah. What about spearfishing gear? What about if money was no object? What would you like spearfishing gear wise?
A suit
I
that's a
think
little bigger because watching you getting in and out of your suits, some funny
A
shit.
shorter neck.
Absolutely.
Bigger
Yeah,
forehead.
I get really bad neck ache after a long session. I think it's because it's just compressing my.
That suit is so tight, like a little
It is
turtle
tight,
popping your
isn't
head out.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard other people talking about how they get in and out, and they're like, just do this. I'm like, yeah, that doesn't help.
Watching you get in and out of that thing, it makes my day.
Yeah, I've had a few genuinely panicked moments when I'm on my own getting out of that, and you're at a point where you can't move your arms, and it's over your face.
Yeah, and you're tired and cold and it's stuck. I think I've had to help
Yeah.
you out a bit before as
You have,
well.
I think you all have, yeah. So yeah, a suit that fits would be good. But actually, I think, to be honest, gear-wise, you can get carried away with spearfishing, can't you? I think sometimes you've got to par it back and remember it's quite a simple thing you're trying to do. And gadgety things, my watch I love, but even if I had all the other functions, I wouldn't use them, to be honest.
Yeah.
Nice. Dreams spearfishing destination. Where do you want to go spearing?
I would like to go back to Australia, and I'm sure I will because my sister's out there now, and I've got a good reason to visit. But I'd like to go back to some of the spots that I started out on and really, just apply what I know now and see what happens.
Yeah, nice.
Good
Nice.
stuff. And the most important question of all, who do you prefer diving with between us three?
Oh, that's so cruel. That's like asking to choose your favorite child.
Just before you answer, I know you've got a sib. Remember, I have a ninth boat, of which
that
But
you
he
will
doesn't-
be welcome
Yeah,
on.
but he doesn't know any good spots, so it doesn't help.
Fuck off.
Remember who took you to a brill spot?
Yeah, true.
I took you
mean-
to loads of good spots. There was just fuck all there on the day.
Well, it boils back down to the fact that we've had a good summer this season, haven't we? Because we've all been diving together.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're all very different, and that's the good thing about spearfishing. You meet people from all walks of life, and Ben is Mr. Methodical. He's always squirting something in his ear, or he's chewing something to open up his tubes or whatever. And he's disgusted at the way I unload my gear into the car.
Explain.
That is so true.
Well, I got a bit of a telling off because I went to put some weights on top of
The fins.
Some,
You don't put weights on top of the fins.
no, I think it was the wetsuit that upset you.
Oh, was it?
'Cause,
I can't remember.
You didn't want your wetsuit squashed, which, to be honest, it just would not occur to me. So it's very inspiring.
So not me then.
Oh, that's funny.
Can you rip the
Yeah.
other two now just to even it up a bit?
Well, yeah, Rich is, he's very good in the water, and he always makes me feel like a beanpole though, because the sib it normally looks like it's going to capsize.
It takes on a lot of war at the front, that's for sure.
And then,
I will next year. I will be the fastest person to hit 30 meters. I'm telling you.
Do you know what we need to do? We need to get that whole thing from Titanic where Jack's in the water holding on to the door and what's her
Yeah.
face won't let him on. Whereas we'll superimpose Rich's face to her and then your face in the water, and that's you and Rich on your sib.
It's not far off, mate.
and then I love diving with Anthony because all you have to do is follow him around and clean up all the fish that he's left behind.
Dear, oh dear.
Dover sole, place.
He left you an 18-pound pollock up in Sky.
Yeah.
Dear, oh dear.
Yeah, it's
It's
all good, man.
a pleasure diving with all of you, and I hope we have lots more fun next year.
Yeah.
So a couple more questions for me, and these are kind of quick fire questions, but it was only because to listeners, we were meant to do this yesterday. A few things happened. One, it was my birthday and I completely fucking forgot. And two, Richard can't drive for shit. So even though he wasn't driving, he still crashed a van. But I sent a couple of questions to Ben to ask you if I wasn't there. The first question, as a dentist, looking at spearfishing, would having your snorkel in your mouth ever affect your gums?
No, I don't think so.
No. So if you were in the water, say for example, the competition time of like 6 hours or something, could you damage your gums? It's not going to push your gums back or anything like that.
Only if it's poor fitting. And to be fair, I have had, to be fair, that has happened to me. So yeah, if you're doing it for hours on end, you definitely want something that's comfortable, not sharp. I once was given, I went on a scuba diving course in Australia, and someone gave me their personal regulator, you know, the bit you put in your mouth. I think it's called a regulator. And it was fitted to them. So it had been molded to their teeth. So for me, it was really uncomfortable. So yeah, having a good fit. But the funny thing is that person really regretted giving me their regulator when I got back on the surface, and was throwing up. No, I think I was sick before I went down, so I'd done the sick bit, and then I'd been breathing in and out of this thing, and then he was laughing at me until he remembered that I had this personal regulator.
Just imbued with sick smell.
Yeah, that wasn't good. But yeah, I mean, the other thing is, the thing that I noticed, I don't know about you guys, but you're not meant to bite on your snorkel tube, are you?
No.
So I do catch myself doing that, or sometimes you might chew it. But do you ever find that you get out and your bite feels like it's changed?
Yeah,
So
like your jaws moved.
Yeah, so that is just a learned reflex that happens very quickly. So if you were to bite on something between your front teeth and bite down even for a minute, if you try and bite on your back teeth, it will feel wrong. But you'll then relearn that it's not that your teeth have moved, it's just your mechanism has thought that you've got a new bite,
like muscle memory.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then the final question for me, which is going to be going around to all of us, with Christmas coming up, and obviously my birthday yesterday, what, Laurence, if for your partner to buy you a present for Christmas or your birthday or whatever, knowing that you're a spearer or a forager, what kind of thing could they get you?
I'd say more dive tokens for tokens for the day out when it's not necessarily a Friday. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, any kit, I just go out and buy it.
Yeah.
But time is the most precious thing, isn't it?
Yeah. So just a little book of free passes.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'd like.
Nice. Ben?
Yeah, I don't know. Talking about the prawning earlier, certainly made me think, what I really need is a new prawning net. Not that I don't have one. In fact, I might have only bought one a few months ago. But what I really want is a proper net made for prawning. Like, you can buy lots of nets that are made for, like what you call it, like a landing net.
Yeah.
Or like a fish pond net or whatever. But I think you can buy proper prawning nets where the mesh is a little bit longer, so the prawns kind of collect in the bottom and stuff like that. I really fancy going prawning now. We've talked about it. Yeah, they are really expensive.
I was looking them up, and they're about. I saw some for 70 quid, and I thought, well, you can still rip it. But I was in Otter Nurseries the other day, and they had those pond ones.
Yeah.
And they weren't that expensive by any means, but they didn't have that long mesh bit. But they didn't have the mesh going over the metal, so if you scrape it against a rock, it's not going to rip it.
Yeah.
I thought maybe for a introductory net that might be an option for me anyway.
Nice.
Yeah.
Rich?
I think that would be good.
Well, I'm looking at upgrading most of my kit over the winter, so new fins, new wetsuit, loads of stuff. So yeah, basically anything fishing related, spearfishing vouchers, maybe certain shops, anything like that really. But it's the same as anything though. Your wife generally doesn't want to buy you because you tend to go into the shop and look at it before you buy it, don't you? I do anyway.
Yeah.
So I guess vouchers is always a good thing.
Nice.
Well, Laurence, it was epic, man. Really enjoyed this one. It was a good laugh.
Thanks for having me. It's been fun.
Thanks, Laurence.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure.
And thanks for all the fun trips that we have done so far.
Yeah, it's been a great year. Hopefully it's not the end
amazing.
of it, although with the weather the way it is, I'm not quite sure we're going to get in. It's looking a little bit better next weekend, I think. Fingers crossed, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, well, we got a meal all together still, haven't we? A little bit of a catch up and stuff. So
Yeah.
we're not going spearfishing, but we're going to have a bit of a meal, aren't we? So that's gonna be
Yeah,
cool.
I'm looking forward to that.
Looking forward to seeing you lads, as always.
That'd be really good. Thanks again, Laurence. Much appreciated. It's we'll see you on the 11th.
See you soon.
Thanks,
see you
buddy.
soon. Cheers,
Bye.
mate.
Bye.
That was a good one, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I love
Laurence
spending
is
time with
brilliant.
Laurence. Really, really top guy. He's got some cool stories as well, eh?
Yeah, definitely, man. Yeah, it's he's a bit of a quiet one when you're diving with him, but he's got loads of stories behind him.
The only thing that I forgot to ask him was the question from Rachel, which is, could you identify all of us as shapes? because Ben's a square. Laurence, I think, is a rectangle. I think Richard is.
Here we go.
What's the shape
You're
for Humpty Dumpty? And then I'm a beanpole. I'm definitely not a beanpole. Not looking at the photos of Sky. Jesus Christ.
I don't know. Well, anyway, that was a great episode, man. But yeah, we episode 19 already, lads. Like, it's just flown by. It's crazy. Yeah. So episode 20 next week. We got a big one planned, and we've got
of which I cannot believe. Like, I thought we were gonna hold it all off, but it's all too late. Well,
yeah. Well, we got Daniel Mann coming on next week, so that's gonna be an epic one.
Yeah,
be very cool.
I'm proper excited. I think Daniel Mann, maybe JPK as well, the reason why I got into this sport, or at least took it up so quickly, is I'd obviously seen the occasional spearfishing before and thought that looked cool, but
yeah,
watching their videos I just found so inspirational.
Yeah, he's one of the most requested people that we get asked for to come on the podcast as well.
Yeah,
so so that's it's gonna be mega, man. And also we're doing a nice giveaway as well for our 20th episode. So I won't say what that is yet until it comes out on Insta. So if you want to check out the giveaway, follow us on Instagram.
Cool, I'm excited. Can we take part?
Just in case you want to know, it is actually his virginity.
Oh, no, I don't want to take part.
Well, so anyone that wants to check out what we're doing for the giveaway, it's our Instagram handle is _Spiro_hangout on Instagram. And so we got a couple of brands and shops and stuff coming in, so we'll do something cool. And awesome. Like I said, big one for episode 20. I'm surprised we managed to not kill each other up until now.
It's been close a few times.
No, I really enjoy it, lads. It's flown by. So yeah. We got some big guests coming up in the next few ones, so I'm really looking forward to it.
I'm excited, and I promise not to geek out or be celebrity starstruck.
Just let us get a few words in. We'll be happy.
Fuck off. Like, fuck. We're not trying to put him to sleep. We're trying to get information out of him. Fucking hell. Like,
right, lads, I'm off.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed this one, and I'll catch you in the next one.
Yeah, thanks, boys.
Cheers, lads. See you later.
Catch you later.
See you later.